Hey, April.
Tonight is the night, baby. Come and really chop my money. Sure you know, tell your lie.
Alino!
Your friends don't wanna feel me, don't wanna feel me. And your guys don't wanna be me, don't wanna be me. I mean, I can lyrically find them. Got some
Good
boys in the
morning,
fight.
Alino.
One of them could be fight. She much all like lighter. Tonight is the night and the lighter. Make you turn the lights on. I'm the actor in the crew. And you know what a bad man want do. What a bad man want do. Shorty say she know I'm a crew. And she wanna get where somebody.
Okay, so my guest is here and I'm going to bring him live. For those of you that were interested in the song I was just playing, that is called Somebody by Alino. It's my jam. So please go and download the EP Trapped and you can listen to that song. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm bringing, and here comes my guest for brunch.
Hey,
Hello, sir.
hello there, Jay.
This is so wonderful. I just want to say.
It is. This is awesome. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. I know you are super busy, and so this is amazing, and I appreciate you.
I always got time for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. A lot of people don't know that you're a good friend of mine, and I've watched you. This what I'm doing is new for me. This is a new part of my life, becoming an activist and being involved in community and things like that. But you've been doing this for years, right? And so
Yeah.
I've watched you and I admire you and I look forward to learning from you. So I just want everyone to know that you just have really you have experience and you've been working in the Black community for years, and it's just amazing. So give us a brief biography of your life and, just up to now.
Wow. How much time do we have?
Ah, we have all the time for you. I'll do all day.
I'm originally from Kansas. I was born and raised in Kansas, and went to high school there, graduated high school, and then went to college in Texas, in Houston, Texas. So I went to HBCU, Texas Southern
Nice.
University, where I majored in engineering. Um, and then after graduation there, I spent 10 years in the market as a young engineer. After 10 years, we had a real tough recession and a real tough market. And I decided to leave Houston for other opportunities, and I came to Phoenix. So I came to Phoenix in 1986 as a young 27-year-old engineer. I am now 62 years old. So I, I thought I thought Phoenix was going to be a pit stop on the way to San Diego, but I've been here now, 34 years in the field.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so I worked in the field of civil engineering here. Worked for a private firm. Eventually got into the public side, and I started working for local municipalities, and that's when I really got engaged in the community, because when I was working for the public sector, I got in the community. So after that, I decided to pursue my master's in public administration with a focus on government and policy, because I wanted to be involved in policy writing, setting policy that would help disadvantage communities. And so that's how I really got involved and engaged in community. Those were the things that helped me as a young person growing up in Kansas, was that we had community that allowed us avenues to pursue careers, and we kind of lost that. My father was
Hmm.
disabled. My father was disabled. So I was the oldest of four boys, and we were taking care of my father ever since I could remember, you know, being an elementary age kid. But but I had fathers in the community who came and got me involved in sports, and you know, we had mentorship programs, and that's how I got introduced to construction and engineering. And so I always knew I had a plan B aside from being, you know, a star athlete, because that's where it all started.
Right.
You know, sports kept me out the streets. Uh, we grew up in a very competitive nature, and we was also very competitive in our academics. So I was just blessed to be in that kind of environment. So I think those
Mm-hmm.
are the kind of environments that we need today to steer our young people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What was it like being a Black engineer in your time? What was that like? Because, you
Man,
know, oh,
it,
tell me.
it was very challenging. You know, in the '70s. Remember, I graduated in the '70s, so that was before all of the technology. Um, One of the experiences I had today that keeps my fire going, and I'll share a quick story with you.
Okay.
I was about 19, 18 years old. I was a intern student. I wrote a letter to a firm in Houston, and I was in Kansas City at the time doing a summer intern program. And I wrote a letter of interest, and they called me, uh, liked everything I said. And at the time, you know, there's no Instagram, there's no social media, so all they had was what I conversed with them over the phone and my resume. So they
Mm.
flew me down. So they sent me a first class ticket, limo, hotel, flew me down to Houston. That next morning, I had an 8 o'clock meeting at a firm there. You know, came in the office, sat down at the front desk, waiting for my appointment. And so my appointment comes out and comes to the front desk and says, "Hey, I thought Carnell Thurman was here." And it was like,
Mm.
"Yeah, he is. He's sitting right there." And uh, so he looked at me, and it was just like, "What?" We actually sent for a black guy to come down here and interview with, and so that was a very cold experience, and it was
Hmm.
one that hurt my feelings because I thought,
Right.
you know, I thought I deserved to be there based upon the credentials at the time. And I was just a college student, but I could tell right away it was the color of my skin.
Mm.
So I was supposed to have an all-day itinerary, lunch and evening tours of the facility. They grabbed somebody else, took me to a little brunch, and to put it bluntly, they put my ass back on in a taxi, sent me back to Kansas City.
Wow.
So I knew then that there was going to be some challenges in this field. And we were always taught as young kids to just be twice as good as your competition because
There you go.
you just had to be. And
Exactly.
and so that had been that's my burning fire, and I tell that story all the time. And that happened to me at a young age, and I knew there was going to be hurdles. And so, you know, I got past that, and then eventually after graduation, and someone's going to give you a break. You got to stay after it, and I was fortunate enough to get a break. And even then, you know, my work was questioned. You always got
Hmm.
looked at twice over. Anytime there was promotions, I was, you know, overlooked for promotions. I remember raises. You know, everybody would run around and share their raises, and I would sit there and go, "I got my little 2 or 3%. You guys got 7%? Wait
Right.
a minute." So that was very challenging in the private sector. And then once I moved to Phoenix, there's just not very many black engineers here. I think um, Arizona has 4 million, 5 million at the time, and I think there was only six what they call professional engineers. We are registered by the state board, the technical registration. There was only six of us here in Arizona,
That's
and
crazy.
So we're microscope. People look at you, they criticize you. So I left the private sector and then went to the city of Phoenix. I went to an organization, City of Phoenix, and
Hmm.
there they had a lot of policies in terms of equal opportunity. You know,
Mm,
they believed in diversity. They believed in giving everybody equal opportunity. And because of that experience, I was able to get into managerial roles and executive roles. And
that's good.
so that has been challenging. So black engineers, there's a lot of opportunities in that field because the one thing I tell the youth is that math is pure. Math is pure science. You know,
Right.
1 plus 1 is 2 everywhere you go. And so it's the great equalizer. So they can't take nothing away from science. And so if you're proficient in science and you have the ability to communicate, there's a lot of opportunity for you. But not without being questioned, not without
Mm,
being, second guess. That just comes with the territory. I think I was well prepared for that after that experience I had at 19. I was just like that was
exactly.
devastating. I knew early this was going to be a struggle, but I knew I could be successful because of the mentorships, the mentors that were out there that I saw that were successful.
Hmm. When you say that there was a low amount of engineers, I think what was shocking to me recently when I joined a group of Black therapists, I was really shocked by how low a numbers we have in Arizona as Black therapists.
I believe it.
So, wow.
Believe
So
it.
I was like, there's really a need for us in Arizona for Black therapists. So that's still the case as far as the demographics go, as far as Black professionals. Our numbers are low here in Arizona.
Yes, they are.
Do you feel now, as Black professionals, females and males, that things have improved at all?
Um, I don't see a lot of minorities, especially black minorities, going into these fields of opportunity. I there was a gap. People may remember the dot com era, and
Mm-hmm.
that era soaked up a lot of math and science students. So there was a big void years after that for demand for engineering. A matter of fact, the top 10 paying jobs out of college are all engineering, all
Wow.
engineering jobs. You can make $100,000 a year right out of college in the field of
Right.
engineering. And so we just haven't been steered in those directions. For some reason, we seem to shy away, to me, in math and sciences. Um, we geared to entertainment, we geared to business. Everybody's entrepreneurial now, and I get, I understand it.
Yes.
We weren't that way when we came up. We were taught, go work for corporate, go work for corporate 500,
Right, right.
go in there and work your way up through the corporate ladder. And today's youth, today's society, everybody's entrepreneurial. Everybody, and I love that. I love to see those entrepreneurial spirits. But there's some foundations that need to be in place, I think, by having a solid education. Um, so I hope I didn't get off track. But yeah, so
Yeah, yes,
it's
I agree with
it,
you.
it's I see opportunities out there for young folks, but there's a lot of opportunities in science and technology, and we're lacking. Our youth is, I don't see the number of engineers in the field no more than it was 30 years ago when I first came here.
Wow.
Matter of fact, there's probably more registered black engineers back then than there is right now. And
Wow.
we just don't have it. And for
We need
example, for example,
mhm.
you have to take a state examination to be registered with the state board. And I remember sitting for that examination. It's held in a big, large auditorium. It's 400 or 500 people that come in and sit for an exam. I was the only African American male that sat down
Mm.
in that exam. However, our African brothers, our brothers from abroad, they
Yes.
represent. So we get a lot of foreign students get it. We have people that come from all over the globe to get in this field of engineering for opportunities here. And locally, we're just not there. So I don't understand that gap, why we're not
Yeah.
steering youth to this opportunity. Because these
Yes,
are
because
kind of
in
these,
other countries, as you said, they do. They
they
do. In
they do.
Nigeria, they're very good at the math and sciences.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, at Texas Southern University, which is the HBCU, the School of Technology is where I attended. Those were mostly international students.
Hmm.
Most of my colleagues, most of my students were from the Middle East. They were from India and they were from Africa.
Yep.
We rarely had locals that even attended, the School of Engineering.
Yeah.
So abroad, they're just different mindsets, and they know the field of science is true. The field of science cannot be discriminated against, and so
Hmm.
they're taught to go to the United States, get educated, go to their colleges, be scientists, be engineers, be doctors, be therapists, be all those kind of things.
Yep.
And that's what I witnessed. But for some reason in our communities, we're not singing those songs. And we got to
Mm.
have platforms to try to sing those songs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where we need to go. I'm glad you said that. I truly believe we need to push our youth to the math, to the sciences, to be able to follow our brothers and sisters abroad
Mhm.
and do what they're doing. I've spent most of my life in universities, and so I've been around Africans, and they're brilliant because
Yeah.
they do respect the sciences and math. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so, I've watched you for a long time and you're really, really into health and wellness, and you always are cooking and telling us to eat clean, right?
That's right. That's
So,
right.
what made you decide to go into this health and wellness?
Well, interesting story. Well, no, I was a college athlete, so I played basketball, played multiple sports as a youth, and knew that you had to have a strong physical well-being. But of course, after time and marriage and kids and things like that, over time, I kind of lost those focuses. But in 1999, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition.
Mm.
And then in 2004, I was diagnosed with a second sarcoidosis. If you're not familiar with that, sarcoidosis is, if you're familiar with Bernie Mac, the comedian.
Yes,
Bernie
yes.
Mac, Bernie Mac passed from sarcoidosis.
Okay.
Yes, he did. He had pneumonia and he died. But
Mm.
his autoimmune condition was sarcoidosis. So I had that same. And sarcoidosis can granularize your organs. Essentially, it can take your organs and turn it into sand. And then
Wow.
multiple sclerosis is a autoimmune condition that disables your body. So I was diagnosed with both of those. And
Wow.
uh, I didn't want to go through, I didn't want to take a lot of therapy. I didn't want to take a lot of medicines out. And I was looking at all the prescription drugs they want to give me, and everything caused all these side effects, cancer. I was like, wait a minute, okay, there's got to be another way. So
Yeah.
I decided to take care of my well-being through nutrition.
Mm.
And at the time, I had just graduated from Grand Canyon University with my master's, and I decided to get into their doctoral program and focus on nutrition and leadership. And what I was trying to determine is there a correlation between good nutrition and leadership? And do people that have those combinations have a higher impact on society than people that are not? And
Hmm.
so that led me to study nutrition and its impacts, particularly on minorities. And in my study group, I had to narrow it down, and I narrowed it down to women. And through that process, I learned a lot about nutrition and impacts to our bodies. And then that's when I adopted and launched and helped my son launch a small business called Thurmanetics that focus on nutrition and well-being for communities. And, uh,
Wow.
and and I was my own experiment. So I did those things, and I dropped 40 pounds in 6 weeks.
Wow.
In
In six
2012,
weeks?
in 6 weeks, I had some, I was a gym rat, so I had somebody say, hey, you look like you might be able to do something. So I signed up for a physique contest back in 2012, but I needed to lose some weight. So I lost 40 pounds, and I'm still to this day at that same weight. So
Wow.
I had a lot of folks ask me, what did you do? How did you get that? How did you get there? How did you do that? And I just started doing things pro bono, and people started having results. And then I believe, this is my purpose. This is what I need to do.
Mm.
We need to tie our we need to have a holistic well-being of mind and body. And
Yes.
and so that's my passion now, and that's what I try to focus on and help our community.
I see you post the before and after pictures of people who are in the program, and it is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's a journey. It really takes a mindset. There's always these, let's go 30-day fast, let's do a 6 week diet. It's for life. It's a journey,
Mm-hmm.
something that has to be
Mm-hmm.
done. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to put your mind to it. One of the I call the weed out process we do. We have a questionnaire. People go, I'm all excited, and I'll send like a 4-page questionnaire, and it really will flush out a lot about yourself. And
Uh-huh.
when they return those back, those are serious people. But when they don't,
Uh,
they weren't serious. So
yes.
I learned over the years that if you don't have the mindset, you're gonna continue to have the challenges with your overall well-being.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
back to the nutrition. So I through the whole nutrition, I was able to reduce the needs for medications and things like
Wow.
that. So I studied food groups and studied behaviors, and I apply that to myself, because it's easy to tell somebody what to do and you don't look the part. So
Right.
my challenge was I gotta look like what I preach, and so I
Yeah.
practice that. And
Yes. They say that food is our medicine.
food is
You always
medicine.
hear food
Yes,
is
it
our
is.
medicine.
There's
You
truth to that.
know, yes, I now you know that more than I do.
Yeah.
And what exactly is eating clean? What does that mean?
Yeah, you see that tag all the time. Eating clean is
Yes.
is trying to eat whole foods that lack process chemicals and ingredients. You know,
Okay.
uh, Real short story. I lost my brother about 3 years ago to colon cancer.
Okay.
And I remember when he was first diagnosed, and we sat down with his doctor, and she said, the first thing you do is go home and you throw away everything that's in a can and in a box. And the
Mm.
message there is that there's so many chemicals in processed foods and packaged foods. And years of digesting that can have some serious implications to your body. And
Oh.
unfortunately, that's what happened to my brother. He had a poor diet, high sugar diet, Food, you know, chips and sodas and pot, and over time, those just wear on your body. And so eating clean is whole foods, it's fresh vegetables, it's eating oats, it's eating fruits, it's drinking lots of water,
Mm.
and teas, and that's eating clean. And so when we can take out the process ingredients that are in our foods, we can do much better. You know, the FDA, they only require on the nutrition fact label to put the ingredients on there. They're not required to put chemicals. So there's a
Ah,
lot of chemicals in processed foods that we don't know about, but they're there. And so we have to be careful.
I
Um,
didn't know that.
yes, yes. And
Mm.
um, and the short story. Here's the short story. So as I was studying obesity and leadership, I followed a study that was done in Oxford uh, University in England, and they did a 10-year study on three different diets: a diet in sugar, diet in fat, and a diet with a mix of both. And they had three different phases. The first phase was the trial phase. They used mice. So they had mice in a cage, and all they did was just nibble on sugar. But there was no change in the body composition of the mice that were eating sugar. And so they did the same thing with fat, and there was nothing, no change in fat. But the foods that were mixed with sugar and fat, the mice blew up because they kept consuming. They consumed and consumed and consumed, and their body was telling them they're not getting enough food, so they continue to eat. So the phase two of that trial, they had a human element to it. So they brought a guy in a room and they set him down with a bowl of sugar, and he took a spoonful of sugar and put it down. Said, "Man, that's it. I can't handle no more." Then they set him down at another table with a bowl like fat, like a curd, and it didn't have any flavor. So he's just like, I don't want that. Then they gave him a pint of ice cream. He ate the whole thing, scooping out the bottom of that. Okay, ate it all up, couldn't stop. So the third phase, they did a societal test. So they had donuts. So they made these donuts. They had the sprinkle, the sugary donuts with all the sprinkles on top, and then they had those flour powder donuts, and then they had these donuts with a good blend of sugar and fat. I like to call them the Krispy Kreme donuts. So they went
Yes.
so they went to the street. They went to the streets of London and the streets of New York, and they passed out these donuts. Hey, donuts, free donuts. You know, you can have as many as you want. And people were going, and they were grabbing these donuts in London and in New York, and and you can come back. You can have as many donuts as you want. Guess what donut they came back for? The Krispy Kreme donut. That donut that had that special blend of sugar and fat, and people couldn't get enough of it. So they kept coming back for that donut. So the food industry took notice of that and said, we want that perfect flavor, that perfect blend of fat and sugar so we can compete for bellies. And the project was called Competing for Bellies. And that's
Wow.
where we're at. That's where we're at today. So the food industry, the food scientists, they're in their labs and they're putting together the best flavor that they can through with processed chemicals and ingredients, and they just pack it into these foods so we can just continue to consume them. So now you have people get a bag of chips. Who takes 5 chips and put the bag down? You eat the whole bag of chips. And
Yes.
so we become glutton, and then of course our fast foods are all
Oh,
processed. So we're just big consumers of foods that are just not good for us, and which in turn leads to a lot of disease. that
A
you see.
lot of disease.
I call
A
it
lot.
visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat around our organs, and
Ah.
visceral fat can impact our organs. It can impact our body and
Mm-hmm.
it causes heart disease. It causes strokes. It causes high blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure. And what we do, we get medicines to kind of just, there's no remedy. We just treat the symptoms for it. And then what do we have today? We have African Americans who, um, we African American men don't live as long as anybody else in the United
Yes.
States. Our lifespans are the shortest.
And that's
And
what I was about to get into with you. It's like food in our community, our soul food, our culture.
people don't like for me to go there.
We
I used
gonna
to
go
be one
there.
of them. Yeah, yeah. I tell them, I said the greens is the only things that's good, but don't put salt on it. Don't put hot sauce on it. Don't put pork on it. Yeah. So yeah,
You know,
it's going to take a lot, and I present it to to the faith-based community because they're worse than any community, and that's a
mm,
challenge because the fellowship is mostly over food,
right.
and it's foods that are not healthy for us.
Mm-hmm.
Fried foods with a lot of salt is just a remedy for illnesses and ailments. And if we're going to get out in our community and be examples and be leaders in our community, we need to set examples. We need to have those levels of energy and focus. Otherwise, you're just tired and you're just treating the ailments, and then you're getting together over food to talk about how bad you feel.
Right.
So we really have to just change our mindsets. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do have to push that. And I think that that's what you do in our community is you're pushing that the importance of health and wellness for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, especially amongst our youth. You
Yeah.
know, the obesity rates now are just astronomical. I mean, we lead the entire globe in obesity. The United States does, and then, quite frankly, African American women lead all countries, the entire globe in obesity,
Really?
with Hispanic females right with them.
Mm.
So we've got to change that. And we got to change
Mm-hmm.
that. There are leaders. So there was real quick. There was a study done by University of Colorado who were looking at the challenges with obesity amongst the millennials.
Mm.
Ages 18 to like 30, and the focus was on single parenting. We have a lot of single parents in those age
Mm-hmm.
groups. And in that study, they had determined the challenge in 20 years is that that group that have children will have children in their teenage years taking care of them. And that was a kind of a deflection point on the seriousness of obesity,
Mm.
because their analysis was that you know those millennials will experience elderly types of ailments at a much
Mm-hmm.
younger age. So at 50, diabetic, having amputees, being disabled, and
Mm.
you have teenage kids. So you're going to have 16, 17-year-olds who are going to be taking care of 45-year-old and 50-year-old parents if they continue to go in that direction. Uh, Case in point, look at COVID-19. Look what's happening right now.
Yeah.
The disparities, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, people who are falling, a lot of them are obese, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
minorities,
Mm-hmm.
not only because of access to health and doctors and that, but it's the foods.
It's
It's
the
the
food.
foods we eat. It's the foods we're eating. So the way COVID-19 works, from what I understand, it causes inflammation in your body. And
Mm.
so people are walking around with inflamed bodies. You're already inflamed. If you have a you have a diet that's high in fat and sodium, your heart is working hard to combat the inflammation you already have. And then
Wow.
COVID-19 comes into play, and it sends inflammation in your body 10 times. And
Mm.
that's what's happening. And then people's organs can't sustain.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think people are talking about that as much as you hear
No, they're
on
not.
the news reports. But that's really the angle we should be taking. We should be saying, get fit, lose weight, eat clean, and put our bodies in position to have defenders to fight off ailments and disease
Mm-hmm.
viruses. You want to build a defense to that. So if you have years of just eating foods that are not nutritional, then you're more likely to succumb to viruses such as COVID-19. And
Right.
that's what you're seeing right now. When I see pictures of some of the people that have passed, young people, some of the common thread I do see is that they're overweight.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
overweight.
What is some advice you can give those of us who want to start eating clean? How do we start?
Um, one day at a time. One day at a time. I always say sugar's your enemy. So
Okay.
one of the things I tell people to do is just pull back on sugar as
Okay.
much as possible. Try to go with natural sugar. So that's the cakes and the pies and the cookies and stuff like that. I know those are challenges. You can have those every now and then, but you've got to pull sugar. Something else I tell people to do is learn how to read nutritional labels.
Mm.
If you educate yourself on nutrition facts, because all the products they've got nutrition facts and labels on them. So read those. When you see contents of sugar and you see added sugar, you don't want those. You don't want those in your body. And
Right.
you'll find those in a lot of products. You don't want high sodium diets. You can look at a nutrition label. A low sodium diet is considered to be maybe 50, it's called 50 milligrams, 50 milligrams per serving. But a flour tortilla, for example, is 800 milligrams of sodium, a flour tortilla. So I always tell my Latino following, because it's such deep rooted in the culture, and they just look at me and tell me, man, there's no way. You got to drop the tortilla, and you have to drop the Coca-Colas, because it's embedded in our
Wow.
culture. Just like our cultures all have generations of foods that we eat,
Yeah.
but they're not good for you. So you just you have to start. It depends on your willpower, but you have to start with small. Just take small steps, and then each step set another goal. If I eat 4 burritos a day, okay, all right, I'm going to eat 3. And then, okay, I'll eat 2. And then you start working on reducing that. And then educate yourself again on
Okay.
eating the right kinds of foods. You can still have good servings of food that's good. Another thing I hear is that people think that eating healthy is expensive, and it's really not. People go, it's expensive to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can go to Burger King and get 2 Whoppers for $5, and you can have a couple Whoppers. But you can also go to Sprouts, and for $5 you can get You know, you can get some vegetables. You can get 2 or 3 sweet potatoes. You can get some broccoli, and you can have a vegetable plate in with multiple servings. So you just have to look at um, things on a day-to-day basis. Really,
Yeah, your choices.
yeah,
So the box food. I grew up on a farm. So the box foods and the cans and all that, that was never, and if we had anything canned, it was because my grandmother canned it.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So would it gradually taking away any of the box foods and the canned items? Would that help?
I think now more so than when we were growing up because things we weren't processing foods as much.
Hmm.
Everything is processed. Even wheat is farmed. They go out and they process those things. So when you can foods, their expiration is forever practically because it's preserved.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
whole foods don't last. You put it in your refrigerator, you better eat it. So I find myself at the grocery store all the time because those foods are just not going to sit there and be preserved. And so foods that are high in preservatives that are processed that way have lots of chemicals. Like I said, the FDA
Okay.
doesn't require, but those are chemicals in there, and those are the things that are in our bodies
Mm.
right now that
Yeah.
impact our defenders. You know, we
Yeah.
have white blood cells, we had red blood cells, and we also have cells that goes to our gut. And what people don't know, those cells only last 4 days. So white blood cells, red blood cells are defenders. They go in and protect our body against diseases, and they last about a year. And so our heart produces about 100,000 cells like per day. But if we don't have the cells that are down there fighting gut, and people can call it leaky gut. There's a term called leaky gut. It's when the intestinal lining gets severed and you leak blood into your system.
Hmm.
So we want to eat the right kind of food to protect our our organs, and that's those are the
Well,
remedies. I mean, like you said, food is medicine,
food is
but it's it's
medicine.
it's, it's difficult when the food industry has put such good flavor to all our foods that are in cans and boxes and I understand because it tastes so good. I can't give that up because it tastes so good. Just some things I'm not going. I have people tell me some things I'm just not going to give up. Okay, I'm just not going to. I just love it too much. But over
But
time, it's going to impact your body.
right. You could pay you can fix the problem now or you're gonna pay for it later.
Yes, you can.
You
Yes, you can.
know?
Yes, you can. And if we're going to have an
Throughout
impact, and if we're going to have an impact to the next generation, we need to be around,
Mhm.
and we need to be of good health. We need to be of good mind, and we need to be of good body. And
Yeah,
so, if we're going to have impacts in our community, and we got to be of good health, and
absolutely.
we do.
Absolutely. I really, really, really believe in that. As a person that is has your hand in science, as engineering, at health and wellness, leadership, what is some of the wisdom that you've passed on to your children? Because you have fantastic children.
A lot of it I think is they just observed me from afar. I don't know if I really told them anything. No,
Okay.
they just kind of watched me over the years, and then I have a son that'll be turning 40 this year, and another son that's be turning 38, and they're athletes. They're in good shape, but they pulled me aside one day, and they were just like, Dad, we've been watching you, man. All these years, man. Look at you. He says, I don't know anybody's dad that look like you. All my friends' dads, they don't look nothing like you. So I think it
Right.
was just over time they just witnessed it, and then My daughters, on the other hand, they see me cook. So I'm the cook in the family. So I'm always cooking.
Okay.
So they just watch me. You know, they had their own little snacks, their own little treats, and they just watch me eat. They keep looking at me, and they go, maybe I should eat. And sometimes the message should comes from somebody else. You know, you can tell your
Ah,
kids all that, and it doesn't resonate. But when somebody else tells them, they go, "Oh yeah," and that's what happened to my daughters, because I think they were going to people and saying, you know, I want to do this and I want to do that, and they're just like, "You need to eat what your dad eat, whatever you're doing. You should follow your dad." And then finally they start going, "Okay, maybe I'll start doing that." So
mm-hmm.
it's my example, you know.
Yes.
And I learned that early. You know, I was trying to, you know, you try to guide your kids, and sometimes, you know, parents don't know anything. You know, my kids used to tell me, it's not the 70s anymore, Dad. So, but I said, you know, I've been 17. I know what 17 is like. Yeah.
Yes.
So now and so I really pride myself on just being a physical example, because I think that's the
Right.
best example you can have. I saw a comment that TD Jakes made. If people don't know, TD Jakes, the one of our big pastors down in Texas, and he said he had a lady that came up to him and said, "Hey, I want to be your trainer." And he said he looked at her and he says, "If you don't look like somebody that trains, how you gonna tell me to train?" And he said the same thing about the hairdresser. He says, "How somebody gonna say, 'Hey, let me do your hair,' when your hair is just not working right now?" So,
Absolutely.
uh, so I'm a firm believer in leading by example.
Absolutely. That's what I say. When I sit down in front of my patients, I have to make sure that what I'm trying to convey to them, I'm using in my life,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? I can't
Exactly.
be no jacked up therapist mentally and I'm trying to help them with their mental illness.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
How's that
yeah,
gonna work?
yeah. How's that gonna work? Exactly. And
Not gonna
so
work.
we gotta strap our boots on. We gotta be out there, and we've got to be examples for our communities.
Absolutely.
We can give them all the words. We can tell them everything, but if they look at it and go, "Man, I don't. It's not working for you. Why would it work for me? It's not working for me." And so that's the selling point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
What in You're doing a lot of leadership stuff. Tell me about that.
oh wow, um, I learned that leaders, leadership is something that we really lack in this community, and I'm a beneficiary from leadership. I, back at a young age, I didn't have a, a father that was able to, you know, take me around, show me things like that. But I was very fortunate to have some male figures in the community that provided really, really good leadership. Because I had my hands in everything. I was with the bad kids, good kids, the athletic kids. I was everywhere, and eventually the forks in the road start coming. I had to start making some decisions. I'm like, well, you know, if I go down this road, I might go to jail. Let me go down this road right here, so I can go to college. But
Right.
so I had some people that steered me through leadership, and I thought, and I believe that is very important because that had an impact on me. And so that's what I want to pass down, and I want all of us to. We all have leadership capabilities, and but I'm also big on wisdom and knowledge. And
Right.
so, you know, read, learn. I'm a big researcher. Research, do lots of fact finding, and sometimes people just want to be told, but they don't want to find out for themselves. You know, and,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of funny because I'll sometimes I'll go through my social media feed, and then somebody will say, "Hey, can anybody tell me where this place is, or anybody know of this?" I'm like, you know, you could probably research that in 2 minutes instead of waiting for a social media feedback post, you know. And
Right?
so take those initiatives to learn, you know, be a life learner is what we try to tell people, and then and pass that on. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we
Mm-hmm.
make generational impacts is through knowledge,
Yes.
through knowledge and wisdom. And
What I love about having you on my Facebook is from day one that you got on my Facebook, you challenge and debate me.
man, people don't sometimes. I learned early, boy. You gotta have some thick skin, at least in the business I was in, because you were gonna get. It's like Kamala Harris right now. You're gonna get ridiculed. You're gonna get beat up. You this black engineer. You coming around in this white male dominated field. You're gonna get talked about, beat up on,
Hmm.
ridiculed. So I've been through all that. So I understand that. And so you know, I just appreciate you not having been too sensitive. I know some people may just go, you know, you hurt my feelings, me, you know, I'm
No.
just being honest. Somebody, you know, true friends would tell you the truth. You know,
Right.
you got some friends that are just rally behind whatever you say and won't say, you know what, girlfriend, that's not right. That was wrong. We need to do it this way. You know, true friends will, you know, in our faith-based community, we say iron sharpens iron, and so
There you go.
we're here to help each other, and
Yes.
and I take feedback. I make a lot of mistakes. One thing that I learned uh, real quickly back in my profession is that I went into a position and as a city engineer, and I was told that nobody makes decisions in that department. You know, I was like, what are department goals? Well, nothing comes out of that department. So I remember sitting down with staff, and everybody was afraid to make decisions because they thought they were going to be fired because they were just firing people for probably not making decisions. So I had told a group of about 15 employees, I went, our goal is to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. I want you to make 3 mistakes a day, but we're going to make some
Yes.
decisions. Make some decisions. And I said, if they have to cut my toes off, my head off, I'll take the stabs and the cuts. And so that's something that, you know, I want everybody to you know, harbor, you know, make mistakes, get out there, you know, you're going to learn from these mistakes.
Exactly. I don't think I've ever had an interaction with you that I haven't learned. And that's what I love. You know, when you see me post something and you come in and you question me and we have a dialogue, I walk away feeling wonderful because I've gained in that interaction.
Oh, I learned from you too, believe me. I'm, I'm a life learner. I learned from, you know, I learned from my grandchildren. Shoot.
Yeah,
I got 5, 6, 7-year-old grandchildren, and I'll learn from them, you know.
right.
But yeah,
I
you
love
can
it.
learn. You're never too old to learn. And
No, no, you learn, you're never too old to learn. You know, so I run this anti-racist platform. What are your thoughts on the social climate that we're in today?
wow, it has been exposed to a whole nother level. Uh,
Ooh.
Before social media, before technology, I mean, it was going. I experienced it, you know,
Hmm.
people ask me about racism. Yeah, I experienced racism. I was there when they desegregated the school systems, and they bused us to, you know, to white schools, and you know, white kids came over to the black community and went to our schools, and we had race riots, and we had all those things. So
Hmm.
um, but now the climate, just because I think the media aspect, there's so much exposure now, and the whole thing with the criminal justice system and the brutality that's been going on, you know, we wouldn't be where we'd be if it hadn't been for electronics, if it hadn't been for cell phone videos. I mean,
Man.
that exposed a lot of the Semitic racism that goes on. So
Yes.
yeah, the client, it is exposed it, and of course,
Hmm.
you know, the White House is dividing the country right now,
Yeah.
and you're seeing it. People are choosing race over um, policies right now. And
They really are.
when we talked about this, I remember when we were kids, we talked about the privilege. When we were kids, we were like, man,
Hmm.
boy, we was a white boy. Wow, man, we really would have some opportunity, man. What we got to
Right.
do? Well, you got to work hard, twice as hard. You got to hopefully find somebody that supports you because we weren't in the position of hiring. So um, there are some good folks in all races. So, I'm a
Right.
beneficiary of somebody giving me an opportunity that was not black. And
Right.
so there are good people out there, but yeah, but you can see the disparity. COVID-19
Hmm.
has has shown the disparity out there.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm. How do you think that moving forward, now that we are in this social climate, how do you think we as Black people can help ourselves move to the next level? Because, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, they got us to a certain point. Now we have to take the ball and we got to get truly to a different point for our children.
mhm.
What do you think we need to do to better ourselves?
Oh, we definitely got to get in position of people make call it power. We
Yeah.
gotta. Kamala Harris said it very well. She says we need to be at the table when decisions are
We
being
need to be at
made
the
because you guys are impacting our community and we don't have a community voice. So in this climate, we've got to, and I'm seeing it now. I think I was watching something. They said there's more African Americans now running for public office than ever before because they realize a lot of what's impacting our community is through policies, public
Hmm.
policies. And so we can get
Mhm.
ourselves in position to make a difference through public policy. We can better our community. And
Beautiful. Yeah.
I'm sure
Um,
that's the hopes of where we're going right now because I see the disparity. I see the
hmm.
disparity.
Hmm. I cannot believe that my brunch is over, Carnell. I'm having such a good
Oh
time.
wow! Okay, yeah, we had a great time. We
It
had a
was
great
like
time,
it was
and
like
we
only a
can
few
go for
minutes.
another hour. I'm sure. We just have to
I
maybe do part two or something.
Right. We have to do another brunch. We
Yeah,
have to. So
absolutely,
if I could get you to commit to giving me another brunch, please.
man. I'm there. I'm there
All
anytime,
right.
Dave.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much for coming and talking to my group.
all right. Okay, Jay.
All
Have a
right.
great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. So, you guys, this was such a great brunch. I learned so much. Um, we didn't even have time to take questions. I was just so into it. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening. Um, to me, this is just such a wonderful brunch. Um, so of course I will announce when we're gonna have another brunch with Carnell, and we can hopefully get some questions in. But I really enjoyed this brunch, and I hope you guys do. For those of you that missed the beginning, I will post it so that you can go back and really see what we talked about from the beginning of the brunch. But thank you guys for tuning in. And, we have these every Sunday. So, I'll announce who I'm going to have for next Sunday. But, this was really a wonderful brunch, and I'm just so happy. You guys have a wonderful Sunday, and, I will talk to you later.